Hey everyone, and welcome to Soul Star Cafe. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm so happy we have Cindy Welch with us today to discuss neuro art and the therapy that comes with it, and really how it helps us relieve some anxiety that we're going through in this stressful world right now. So, Cindy, welcome back to our channel.
Thank you so much, Ruth. Great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I thought we would do is, first of all, we're going to put all your details in the description box at the end, but I really want to go dive right into the work you've been doing with Neuro Art and a couple of tools that you can show us today that will help somebody watching this to really give them some extra things they can do to help in their world right now.
Awesome. Okay. So I ran into Neuro Art a couple years ago on YouTube, just sort of looking up abstract art because I love it. And I found that it's a really easy way to sort of release stress and find a level of relaxation that kind of grounds you and brings you into your body in a simple and fun way. And, with neuro art, what I love about it is you don't need any artistic talent to do it. It is completely abstract, free form. It uses symbols that your subconscious can relate to. So that's really what you're doing is as you're creating the symbols and doing the drawing on the paper, you're diving into your subconscious, which brings online the parasympathetic nervous system, sort of calms the vagus nerve a little bit and helps you think a little more creatively, which is really what you're after. Because whenever the body is in that parasympathetic fight or flight state, it turns off the frontal lobe. So you don't have access to creative out of the box thinking. And so finding solutions really requires you to learn how to relax. Meditation is one way to do that. A lot of people tell me they struggle with sitting down and just being quiet for a long period of time. And so I tell them, hey, why not try the art form? Because you're still sitting and being quiet, but you're actually doing something, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
sometimes people need a
neuro,
focus. Yeah, they need a focus.
exactly, exactly. And neuro art is similar to the Zentangle. I bet a lot of the people that come to your channel have heard of doodle art or Zentangle. And the real difference between those two forms, the neuro art and the doodle art, is there's a lot less sort of creating a design and more of a free flowing, letting the sort of art flow out of you, thinking about how it's making you feel. So that's really the difference. There's a lot of connection you do in the process where you listen to your body, you see what feelings are coming up, you see if there are any emotions or thoughts coming up. And oftentimes people will have inspiration. And so one of the things I just want to share is that I come to this form with problems in my life, or not problems, but challenges maybe. And as I draw around those challenges, what I'm finding so far is that, especially with three of the topics that I've drawn on, within 9 to 12 months, a resolution or a big change happens in those areas. And that's been astounding to me,
That's really good.
how just
Wow. I'm just
sitting
gonna say
down,
wow right there. That's
right,
beautiful.
and do
That's worth everything right there, right?
right. So, and it's not that maybe the issue was resolved to a way that I thought it would be. It's not really that it gave me ideas of how to do anything, but things in my world shifted that did bring change in that area, and mostly positive change. I mean, I haven't seen any negative change, but definitely positive changes and movement forward, which it just tells me that this is a really powerful tool that you can use in your life, and it's so accessible and fun and easy.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's jump on in and
any
show everybody how to do it. Yeah.
all right, that sounds great. Okay, so I want to show everybody how they can do this in a very simple way with only two tools, a
Okay.
piece of paper and a pen. And that's really all you ever need. There you go, piece of paper and a pen. Now, if you want to get there you go, magic marker. Awesome. If you want to get complicated or a little more detailed, you can add colored pencils. You can have different size pens if you want. There are all kinds of ways you can go deeper into this process. And I am going to be making video tutorials to share on YouTube in the next 6 months or so. So you can look for those maybe in the beginning of 2027. But for right now, there are so many little tutorials on YouTube people can look up, and it's really fun. So in this process, what we're going to use is lines, circles, and something called a scribble. So the first thing I just want to do really quick is show people what I mean by lines, because it's important how you draw the line. One of the things we know is that in nature, there are not a lot of straight lines. But a lot of times, if you tell somebody to draw a line, they would just draw a straight line, kind of like this, okay? But that doesn't really happen in nature. What we see in nature are very random lines, kind of like clouds, if you outlined clouds, and they don't repeat and they don't loop around each other. And so that would be I'm going to do it in a thicker pen so you can see it, but this would be a more natural type of line. And when we draw lines, we are tracking our thoughts. Now, everyone has thoughts about every topic, right? We have thoughts about our job where we like this aspect, but we don't like this aspect, and all kinds of things about that, right? And so a lot of times our thought lines will cross one another. They don't cross themselves, but they will cross one another. And when that happens, we do something called rounding or softening the corner. And so I'm just going to show how to sort of do that, because this is one of the very important processes in neuro art, is rounding or softening those sharp edges. Now, the reason we do this is because where our thoughts are in conflict with one another, where I say, well, I love my job, but I really don't enjoy my boss. This is a conflict in the brain that we then want to soften that conflict, because as we soften the conflict, it opens the door to thinking, okay, well, my boss isn't my favorite person, but what about them do I like? And it sort of opens the door for us to think in a different way about those things that we are not happy with, right?
Oh, that's so
And by
cool.
doing,
Could I just say one thing here?
yeah,
Okay. It really feels like what you're showing us is like a shift in your perception on the view of the boss, right? Is that kind of what
exactly. Or
share?
any topic.
Okay.
Yes, any topic. You could say, I've been drawing about buying a house, and there's a part of me that really wants a house, and then there's a part of me that thinks, oh, but that's a lot of responsibility and that's a big financial commitment. And so that would be sort of two opposing thoughts that I want to bring harmony to.
Okay.
And the way we do that is we just round those corner edges.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Okay, so I'm rounding right now.
That's cool. And when we make circles, there are different ways we can do that. We can find an arc that looks like a circle already there and complete it. And then we would round where it connects to the line. I'll do that here too in a bigger way. So this would be another circle. I always want to make sure that I go around my circle 2 or 3 times. I can color that all in, or I can leave some white space. That's okay too. And so this is just a basic overview of how we deal with lines and circles and rounding, which is these are the main elements in a neuro art drawing.
So
So any questions so far, Ruth?
well, I was just going to ask, yes, while you're doing this and you're showing everybody, of course, I'm visually challenged, so I'm having a hard time seeing what you're doing. But what I'm wondering is while you're doing this and you're trying to bring harmony into your thoughts, and as you're doing the neuro art, what is happening actually in the brain? Is there something happening in the brain?
Yes, they have done studies on this while people are engaging in neuro art. And what they're finding is that the brain begins to form new pathways. So this is very connected. Neuro art is very connected to what they call it went out of my head, neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
So that idea that our brains can change. Because, you know, how many times have you met people and they are so entrenched in their worldview that you can't really even talk to them about a particular topic because they have such an investment in that, in their perspective of that topic, right? And we could apply that to anything. An easy thing to apply that to today would be politics. It's just
right,
sometimes it's hard for the two sides to even have a conversation that makes sense, right?
right, right,
And when we engage in a drawing like this, we start to open up new pathways in the brain so that we can begin to think differently about our topic, maybe even changing our perspective or perception of the problem or the
right.
challenge that we're having.
Yeah, it seems to
Yeah,
me like when I
great
think of the
question.
brain, I think of the two sides, and the right side, the left side, and that the most people probably would agree with this. The right side is more the creative side, and whereas the left side is more the logical side. And it feels to me like when you do this, you're sort of
Exactly.
trying to blend the two together, right?
Yes, yes, it is very much a bringing together and crossing that barrier between left and right, because you're not just drawing, which might keep you in that creative side. You're also analyzing and thinking through, how does my body feel, what emotions are coming up, and what thoughts are presenting themselves. And so I do want to share one thing that I think will help people a little bit about the getting over the, a lot of us come to this art and we go, I want to do it right.
Right,
We're all brought up in a culture that grades everything, right?
right,
And that was a thought that I had every time I came to a drawing was, am I doing this correctly or right? And I just want to say, when it comes to neuro art, there's no right or wrong. This is totally an individual process. In fact, I think that this art form might best be used to connect people to their own intuitive senses. And
yes.
that's something that started resonating with me more and more, is why not use this kind of art to start to be able to hear what's going on inside of me from my intuition and start being able to perceive and apply what my intuition is trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I just want to just ping on that a little bit about, things doing things the right way or the wrong way. We've known each other since like last summer, and I remember when we first started doing this together, because of my visual challenge, I was really concerned about doing it the right way. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to see this. But what's so good about you is that you never judged anything I was doing. I would just be, doing all the things I thought was right, and then when you looked at what I was doing, you were like, yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what you needed to do. And I just wanted to share that with everybody, that there is no judgment around this, at all.
No. And
Cool.
everybody's picture will come out different. Even in a class that I lead where I'm taking people through the steps, it's
Mhm.
amazing to me how different every drawing can be. And that's really what we're after, is tapping into our own creativity, which is so unique,
Yeah.
right?
One of the things I want to mention while
Okay.
you're showing, you got more? Okay, keep going, and then I'll come back to
Nope,
it.
nope, nope. I want you to finish.
I just wanted to share the first time we met last August and we did this artwork together, I had a lucid dream that night.
Wow.
And in my lucid
Wow.
dream, I saw these tree-like branches that were like what we might say fragmented, and they weren't, they were just all fragmented. But in the dream, what happened is they
Hmm.
all came together, and I saw that this was a healing. It was a beautiful dream.
Yes.
And that's what they were doing. It looked like tree branches, like, but they were, what I was really seeing were the neural pathways in my brain that had been maybe
Yes.
fragmented by whatever, and that they were literally healing, just like this.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful to see
Mhm.
that, because I was like, oh, there's some true power in this work that you're sharing.
Yes, I agree. I've seen trauma healing happen for people. I've seen, for in my own life, old trauma that that I was embarrassed about, things that I did as a young person out of pain or whatever.
Yeah.
I've seen huge resolution and freedom from those things in my own life as well. It is a very powerful healing tool, not just psychologically, it can even be physically as well.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Keep going, girl. You're doing
Okay.
great. Yeah.
So I just want to take people through a very simple thing that you can do riding in the car, sitting in the doctor's office waiting. You can do it anywhere where you have access to paper and a pen. And that's all we're going to use today. So we're going to start with something called a scribble or a release. You can think of it that way. And so as we start this process, what you want to do is choose a topic. So any problem, challenge in your life at this moment, it can be something at your job, it can be a relationship, it can be a financial thing, any challenge that you're a health thing, any challenge you're experiencing today. And you want to sit for about, I don't know, we're not going to do it today, but you can take anywhere from 2 to 3 minutes and just close your eyes and let those negative emotions kind of build up in you around that challenge or problem that you're having, all the frustration, all of the pain, all of the anger, if it's a relationship, all of the, anything negative around that topic, you want to let it kind of boil up. You can think of it that way. And one of the ways you can do that is we know that physically, when we breathe in through our mouth, it turns on the sympathetic flight or flight nervous system, right? And it makes us feel anxious in a way when we breathe through our mouth. And so that's one way we can magnify those negative feelings is doing it manually through the breath. And so you would do it this way. You would take 3 deep breaths in like that, and not through the nose. It must be in through the mouth if you want to activate the sympathetic nervous system. And then once you have that activated and you feel that tension inside your body, you want to put your pen to the paper and just release that in a 3 second or less scribble. So I'm going to do my breaths. And then I'm just going to release a scribble that pretty well at least is the size of my piece of paper. It does not have to fill the paper up, but I definitely want it to stretch along the size. Yes, exactly. Just like that. Yep, perfect. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take the same pen and I'm going to start to trace these lines with a little more movement. So I'm going to come out here to the edge and I'm just going to make them a little squiggly. I'm going to take my time. And as I go, I'm going to begin to round. And so I'm tracing and I'm rounding and I'm tracing and rounding. And anywhere that I see the beginning of a circle, I may go ahead and create that circle. Now, if you notice, I am not exactly tracing my line because I'm making it a little squiggly. I'm slowing myself down. I'm starting to feel a little more relaxation.
You're channeling Bob Ross. He's the famous
Yeah,
painter.
that's right.
That's what it feels like to
Yes,
be channeling
indeed. If
Bob
you
Ross.
haven't heard, yes, and if you haven't heard of Bob Ross or seen Bob Ross, please, I hope your listeners will look him up because he was such a delightful person and basically taught people that there are no mistakes when it comes to art. And I truly feel that too. As a matter of fact, a few months ago, I went to see my grandson, who is 7, and he had been doing some drawings, and I noticed that on some of his drawings, he had marked them out, like X to the drawing out. And I said, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Because I did it wrong." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Why do you think you did it wrong?" And he explained. And then I asked him, "Would you mind if I drew in your notebook while you are," he was taking Taekwondo or Jiu-Jitsu or something. And I said, "While you're in class, would you be okay if I drew in your notebook?" And he said, "Sure." So I picked up one of the pages where he had thought he had done something wrong. And I actually turned it into a very beautiful neuro art piece just by adding lines and circles and a little bit of color. And it was so fun to show him at the end what he could do with something that he thought was a mistake.
Wow. What a
Don't we
beautiful
all
teaching for
have
your
areas,
grandson. What a beautiful teaching.
right? And
Yeah.
don't we all have areas of our lives where we feel like we've made mistakes? And wouldn't we
Oh
like to
God,
go,
yes.
right, to go back and correct those mistakes? Well, we can't go back in time, but maybe we can rethink our view of what constitutes a mistake, why we thought that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And maybe we could even change our mind about that and realize that that might have been, first of all we knew to do.
Uh-huh.
And second of all, a place where we could really grow. If we can look at life as sort of a growth process rather than a I did it right
Right.
all the time, I think we would really find some freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So
so too.
that's part of what this Yeah, that's part of what this process can do for you. So I've mostly done my tracing and my rounding, and you might have noticed that I also pulled some lines out of some corner or rounded parts that didn't extend to the end of the page. So these are my thought lines that I showed you in the beginning, these sort of curvy, squiggly lines that move around the page. And they want to go to the edge because your thoughts are pretty well eternal. Any thought you've ever had is still out there in the cosmos. And, that's part of the theory of the collective unconscious is that we are also picking up on other people's thoughts as we go throughout our day.
Yeah.
And so I'm just continuing to add lines and I'm going to let them cross one another until I don't have big empty spaces in my drawing. I want to fill the areas up with lines.
You know what I'd like to do while I'm flashing on this is so helpful, I think, for children, all ages, really. There's this prayer of forgiveness, the Ho'oponopono.
Oh, I love Ho'oponopono.
So
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could come back on at some point and do a drawing around that idea of Ho'oponopono. For people don't know the teaching there, it's a way to forgive, where you look at the event or the person or whatever it might have been, and or whatever they did or you did, right? And you can say the Ho'oponopono is, I'm sorry, right? That's the first part is I'm sorry.
Yes.
Forgive me. And then the next part is, thank you and I love you. It's like
Yes.
that's the four
Mm-hmm.
parts of the Ho'oponopono, where it brings you into that
Yes.
energy of healing with the situation, and maybe doing a drawing around that with maybe a situation to help the brain and help the person to have a healing,
Absolutely. For me, the biggest aspect of Ho'oponopono that most people miss in if they don't use that technique is the ownership part. You
Right,
know, there's an old saying, it takes two to
right.
tango. It takes two to argue. It takes two to fight. And whether you feel like, right, whether you feel like the other person was all in the wrong, we
Yeah,
all have a part,
yeah.
right? Whether it's being playing the victim or whatever. And
The
so I think
victim or the
ownership,
victimizer, right? The victim or the victimizer.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. And what
yeah.
they've shown, in fact, what they know about trauma is that all three participants, whether it's the victimizer, the victim, or the observer,
Mhm.
all three of those people experience the trauma on some level.
Right.
And so it's very important to understand our role and own our role in all of that as we interact with other people.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking at my lines, I'm going through and just rounding where I feel like it needs to be rounded. All of my connections with my thought lines where they cross each other. I'm just going in and quickly rounding. And, I'm even, my hand is touching wet ink and putting dots on it doesn't matter. None of that is important. What you're doing is working with the brain. And so you're not trying to create a museum worthy piece of art. That is not the point of this practice. You may not even keep your art. You might just do it and toss it or offer it to, you could burn it and offer it to the universe if you wanted to as a prayer type of thing and ceremony. There are many ways to use your drawings. I do display them occasionally if they're something that was very important to me, a topic very important to me. I'll kind of keep them around and look at them. And
Yeah.
you can add it to your drawing even after you feel like you've finished. You can always pull your drawing back out and see what other elements you'd like to add in. And so at this point in a normal drawing where I'm using all my tools, I might start to add color. And I just want to cover this, even though I'm not going to do color today. When we color a neuro art drawing, we want to make sure that we are coloring two shapes that connect the same color. Any two connecting shapes, we want to make sure that they're the same color. And the reason we do this is when we're adding lines, we are breaking the page apart into different shapes. I've got a shape here, and so forth, all these different shapes. But we really don't want to create a mosaic out of those shapes. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do green here, orange here, and blue here, because that keeps the shapes still separated. The coloring process is for integration. That's what we're trying to do. So if I'm doing that with a pen, I want to use something they call um, hatching. It's a drawing process called hatching, and it basically is drawing these straight lines through my shape. But if I want to connect shapes together, then I'm going to do that same angle straight line over any shapes. And of course, I did not fully round this section. And again, you don't have to. You can do as much rounding as your nervous system requires you to do. Because one of the things you will notice when you start to do neuro art is as you look at your drawing, when you see sections like up here where I don't have very much rounding, it causes me a little bit of stress to see that. And so wherever I'm feeling stress, I want to go in and round. But if I'm in an area that it either is already rounded or even an area where I don't feel a lot of stress, I can go ahead and add my color or my hatching. And so here I might do all of that way. And then here I might come in and do it the other way so that there's a delineation, not using color, but seeing a difference in those two sections. The last way you can do hatching is called cross hatching. So I would start with my straight and go through here. And then I would come back with the opposite direction as a cross hatch this way. And so as I go through this drawing, going back and forth with my pen with the hatching and cross hatching, or using color back and forth over at least two sections, I start to see sort of how my picture is coming together. It really gets interesting when I start to see the shapes that I chose to do in a particular way, right? I may even start to see little pictures in my drawing. I've had hearts show up. I even once had a car show up in a drawing. It was really interesting. I could see the headlights and the shape of the body.
Yeah.
One of my students twice now has seen glasses come up in their drawing. And so you have to ask yourself, what does the symbol mean to me? And so as I talked with my client about their glasses, they said they felt like clarity
Right.
was the topic, right? Because glasses help you see clearer, right? It just
Exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And so if you're whatever it is you're looking for, you might see it show up
Yeah.
organically in your drawing, which is really fun when that kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of seeing this cross hatching for me wants to continue all down into this section. And so I'm going to cross hatch here. And it feels to me like I have sort of this shape here that's bringing forth this other to me. That's how it looks. And
Yeah.
so as you look at your drawing, you want to ask yourself now, how do I feel in my body as I'm looking at this? I've noticed that throughout this process, I'm starting to speak a little slower.
Right.
I'm starting to feel a little more dropped into my body and present.
Mhm.
My mind is not racing about what we're going to talk about anymore. It's sort of calmed down in that way as well.
Right.
And so you want to notice those things. You want to notice, is this process bringing me into a deeper state of relaxation? And if not, maybe there needs to be more rounding.
Yeah.
Maybe your
Yeah.
body wants some color, right?
Right.
Maybe you want to add a nice big circle in here. Circles are the
Mhm.
universal symbol for peace and calm. They bring the idea of resources and eternity and support and all of that into your drawing. And it's really interesting because now I'm seeing sort of a planet with a ring around it. Like this just feels like I'm seeing this big ring, almost like Saturn,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so this is what can happen in your drawing. You start to see things begin to appear
Yeah.
that, maybe it's just to delight and inspire you. But for me, Saturn represents rules and structure
Yeah.
and safety and lessons and, lots of things. So maybe with this topic that I've chosen, this central figure that I did all the color or hashtagging in. Now, sorry, cross hatching. Now I feel like Saturn is sort of imposing itself on this and saying maybe there needs to be some new structure to help you relax into whatever this topic is, right? And
Yeah.
so you can start asking yourself,
Yeah.
what, right?
Yeah. I was gonna, if I can jump in, let me know when I can jump in because I want to share something as you've been talking.
Go for it.
Is this a good time?
Yes.
Um, I just
Yeah.
want to mention to the watcher, and we just got a couple minutes, I think, left here because I think we're coming into about 30 minutes or so. Um, what I'm feeling as you're talking, because I'm very clairsentient, but my whole head has been feeling this energy. I can feel it in my brain. I can feel this calmness through my field as you're talking and describing and explaining. And when you said Saturn, I saw the planet Saturn literally congeal and coagulate into my third eye as you were talking about that. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
I want to share. It's
Yes.
a very
Yes,
healing. I
it
feel
is.
very, the neuro art to me feels extremely healing. Especially I'll just say here, we have a lot of people right now dealing with brain change. In the older
Yeah.
community, people are going through different I'm going to call it brain change. I think we all know what that means. This kind of art really feels like it could be something that could be taken into different places where people are going through brain change, whatever that brain change looks like, and be done as a way of healing and creating new neural pathways, all those kinds of things that would help the person on that part of their journey.
Yes, and I want to share something that along with that. I was doing this process with my mother, who is 96 now, and she has really struggled. She's beginning to lose her eyesight. She's beginning to lose her fine motor skills. She used to be just a brilliant painter, still is, but just having trouble managing the brush and the paint and all of that. And so I taught her this form because it was accessible to her. But what I discovered that was so fascinating to me was when I would come and do a drawing with her, all of a sudden the door would open to conversations between us that I never even thought would happen. Things would come up and she would ask questions or she would want to talk about something from that's happened recently or from our past or something that I'm so happy that those doors opened, but I know for a fact that they opened because of this, because we were drawing together, because there's a different energy when you do this with other people. I truly believe that. I can do 100 drawings by myself, but I get into a group and all of a sudden things open up that didn't necessarily open up for me on my own. And I think that's many reasons that we talked about the collective unconscious. There's energy shared, like what we're doing right now as we're doing this together. It's really amazing
Yeah.
what kinds of things went up and bring freedom and healing between people, even in relationship. I think this is a very powerful relationship healer, especially.
I
So,
agree. It's such a multi-layered tool, it feels like to me.
yes.
And I'm really grateful that you've been doing the research, been studying it, doing it. I know that you teach at the Alchemist once a month. You do your intuitive development class here locally in Richmond, Virginia. We'll put all the things in the description box. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I really see this coming out more and more to help all of us as we help each other. That's really where we are in this quantum field of information. This is what we're doing. We're bringing in all the tools to help everyone develop and grow and just recognize that we have these different kinds of things that really do help us. Before we stop today, do you want to recap anything or just give us a couple of things that might be helpful for us? Anything that's coming to your mind?
I mean, my biggest desire is to empower other people on their healing journey because ultimately no one can heal you. We heal ourselves, right? And so as I look at this art form, my goal is to inspire and empower others to feel like they can do a drawing on their own or feel comfortable in a class doing this with other people, doing it with their friends. You could have a party around. I've done parties with people, birthday parties where we all sit down and draw together. It's so much fun. They learn about each other in new ways. And I just want to encourage people to do your own process, play with this
Right.
and make it something that you feel like is yours because everyone's drawing will always be different. And that's the fun of it is appreciating our own unique way of being in the world. Yeah.
Wow. That's so helpful. And so, really, I did feel like you were channeling Ross there in the middle. I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel this beautiful energy. He was such an amazing man, amazing artist. I just wanted to show everybody this was what because I'm visually challenged, this is what I was kind of doodling and doing while Cindy was teaching us today. And this is kind of showing everybody
Beautiful.
there's really no right or wrong way. And this is how I do it because I was kind of doing some circles here as well. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to show everybody as we kind of close out today. Cindy, I love you. You're an amazing teacher, really helping me and in the healing that I'm going through with my eyes and all the things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll you're going to be teaching next month or this month at the Alchemist. What day is that?
So May 30th will be the intuitive development class. It is limited to 8 participants. So you have to call and sign up or go on the website, thealchemistrva.com or thealchemist.com. Can't remember. You can look it up.
Yeah.
And then I also do a neuro art class once a month and a past life regression once a month. I read tarot cards. I do energy healing. I do hypnosis using the drawing process for inner child work as well. It's very fun to do that. Seen amazing results with people with that process. So lots of opportunities at the Alchemist, and I also do things on my own. If you'd like to visit my website, ripplesofinsight.net, you can read all about what I do, find out a little bit about my background and what brought me here. And I'd love to connect with you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, what
Yeah.
a beautiful way to end this. The Soul Start Cafe, Cindy Welch, amazing teacher, learning so much. Thank you for your tools today, and I'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thank you, Ruth.